All right, so I am so glad to see all of you that are here. And I know that you're here because there's something about Rise Within that spoke to you. And I want to honor that calling. I want to honor your time by being as concise as I can be while I am moving through quite a bit of information. And so the first thing I always like to do, whether I'm working with an individual client or with a group, is to set the field and connect energetically. So I invite you to close your eyes and just settle into your body. Take some nice deep breaths. Mm. And allow yourself to arrive in the present moment. And while we have people from all over the country and the world that are joining us or that will be watching this on the replay, you can show up fully wherever you are in your own body, fully inhabiting yourself, coming into the present moment. And so I call in the energies and guides, the spirit of this mystery school, Rise Within. My favorite definition that I've heard of what a mystery is the infinitely knowable. So I invite you to allow yourself to open to the infinitely knowable that wants to make itself known to you this evening. And I call in the oversouls and guiding energies that helped me create empath activation cards, which are the inspiration for this initiatory process. And I call in the spiritual teams, the guides, the higher selves of each person on this call and each person who will be watching in the replay. And I ask Spirit that the frequencies of this preview event speak unambiguously to each soul so that the resonance of this mystery school gives them a clear answer on the decision that they are making. And so I invite you to take a moment to bring your attention and awareness to the roots of your being, the deep grounding presence of your body, of your connection with the earth. And feel the steadiness beneath you, that quiet pulse of life that holds you in every moment. The arms of Big Mama. Mm. Feeling that groundedness in the earth. And then lift now your awareness to your crown, the luminous gateway that opens you up to the vast intelligence of the universe, of spirit, of the infinite, connection to the great all that is. Mm. And now, maybe even aided by putting a hand over your heart, over your chest, to bring your attention to that alchemical center, that place where the above and below meet within you, where your divinity and your humanity embrace, bringing the root and crown together. Allow the energies that you experience this evening to inform your entire being, not just your mind or intellect, but the wisdom that lives in your body. Let your heart's intelligence interpret what words cannot, and your cells translate vibration into knowing. You are being spoken to in many languages at once: light, sound, feeling, all perfectly attuned to what your soul is ready to receive. And let the activational qualities of this event land softly within your field, Trust that what is meant for you will make itself clear. And simply breathe and soften and allow your energy to reorganize around what is true for you so that this moment of connection becomes a living transmission within you. Mm. Take a final, deep, juicy, life-affirming breath. And gently open your eyes. And so, welcome in to those who came on the call while we were doing our energetic centering and creating space. I want to keep our pace moving without it feeling too abrupt or too racing, but I want to cover a lot of ground. And the first thing that I would like to do is offer a mini teaching on the rhythm of ascension, because I think there are a lot of conflicting views out there. What is ascension? What is it supposed to look like? You look at many of the different traditions that have been around for a long time, indigenous cultures, Indian traditions, Tibetan traditions, Native American, shamanic traditions. Everybody has a slightly different version, a different way of interpreting. And, who are we to know what the sages wrote so many centuries ago? Oftentimes, those wisdom texts are really, really hard to interpret. And so here's what feels true to me. And that is ascension is not a straight line upwards, right? Every day is not better, lighter, more rapturous than the next. That's just a completely unrealistic expectation that sets us up for disappointment and doubt. The path of ascension is this rhythmic sort of spiraling dance, and part of that natural rhythm is an inherent cycle of expansion and contraction. And I am sure that you have all experienced this before, where you have this incredible peak experience. Maybe you're doing, a weekend workshop or a week-long initiation or some, meditation retreat, or you're just out in the mountains, whatever it is for you. And you just have those moments of pure bliss and oneness. And then you come home and you can't hold it. And it's, most of us can't hold it. We're not meant to hold it. There's maybe, a few people on the planet that can live in that space 24/7. If you look at a line graph, right, you've got an X and a Y axis, and you're plotting something. Let's say we're plotting what our sense of, you know, rapture feels like, or our sense of oneness or unity. It is going to be different every day. Some days we're up, some days we're down, some days we can see the entire big picture, and other days we can see what is right in front of us. But if you map that over time, right? Well, there's these ups and downs, there's these expansions and contractions, and it can feel like there's no progress, there's no evolution, there's no upward movement. The general average, right? When you take the average, when you look at the trend, there is still this upward movement. That is a more realistic expectation and understanding of what ascension looks like, right? Every expansion, when your consciousness opens and you feel that illumination and that inspiration, it is naturally going to be followed by a period of integration, a period of inwardness, a period of recalibration. Look to the natural world for examples of the same kind of cycle. Just as the breath expands and contracts, the moon waxes and wanes, the tides ebb and flow. Your energetic system moves through similar cycles of expansion and contraction, awakening and assimilation. These are not signs of regression. They're not signs that you're doing anything wrong. These are the sacred mechanics of growth. This is what it really looks like, right? When you get down to it. And so as your system integrates, it is natural to need to power down, right? If you want to use a computer as a metaphor, to go offline, to power down, you might feel quieter, heavier, more inward, more uncertain. This is the body taking the time that it needs to weave these new frequencies into form, to anchor what you've glimpsed into a lived reality. So recalibration is where the teachings become embodied. It's where the nervous system learns to hold more light without fragmenting, without escaping. It is in these inward or what feels like downward, trends of this line where the wisdom moves from concept into truth. And so here's the reality or the truth that many people never hear. Contraction is not failure. And I have had to really remind myself of that personally because I have always been very self-critical and I have high expectations. And so, this is part of my growth and learning is to learn to lighten up and be easier on myself. Contraction is not failure, it is part of the natural cycle. And so when we learn that contraction is not collapse, it's actually composting. When we learn that integration isn't pause, it's preparation, we come to a greater sense of peace. And the next cycle, we don't go, oh God, what have I done wrong? We go, ah, yes, my old friend, here we go. We're going inward now before the next expansion. And so that's what Rise Within honors and supports. That's what we work with is an understanding that ascension is just not this continual, line of moving upwards. There it is this very dynamic experience from day to day. And so I'd like to give you an activational experience, kind of a condensed embodiment experience that's inspired by the structure of Rise Within. One of the aspects of each of the levels, which I'll talk about more afterwards, after we do this embodiment experience, is this root and crown practice. And so I want to call that root and crown practice in, but I first want to explain where that comes from, right? There's a story, there's an inspiration about that. I have been a shamanic practitioner for about 20 years. And a number of years ago, I was doing a shamanic breathwork journey. And in that altered state, tree came to me, tree medicine, and showed me, which is something that I knew, but just didn't put it together in this way, that if you were magically able to uproot any tree, the root structure underneath, right? The breadth, the depth, kind of the expansiveness, the overall size and shape of it is going to mirror the crown, right? The root structure of the tree that you see above ground. And so what that really says, or what tree medicine shared with me was the downward expansion is just as important as the upward expansion, right? There are a lot of wisdom texts that are interpreted in such a way as to have us think that everything is about transcending the body, or right, just this upward direction of becoming one and in a sense leaving the body, right? There's a lot of different religious teachings that have us believe that the body is dirty or sinful or less than, or something that needs to be transcended and left behind. So everything is about up, 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 up. But what happens if we don't have a good root structure? The tree just falls over because it's top heavy. There is this balance that must be cultivated of deepening, of grounding, of rooting so that we can hold, that we have the space for, that we have the strength and the ability to be able to hold higher frequencies and greater feelings of expansion. And so I want to invite you into a root, kind of a condensed root and crown practice. So close your eyes once again Just breathing into yourself, imagining your body as a tree. And if you're not a visual person, that's perfectly okay. However you experience this, whether it's through a knowingness or feeling, sensation, whatever it is, it's perfectly fine. So connecting in with your root system once again, visualize, what do they look like? How are they showing themselves to you? As you imagine them descending into the earth and really feeling that two-way connection, the way that roots support the nourishment of the tree. They draw in nutrients, they draw in minerals, they draw in water. You draw up energy, support, grounding, nourishment, belonging through your root system. Sensing into, feeling into, looking into, letting your mind's eye reveal what is the nature of your root system? What is it showing you in this moment? And now moving to the crown, inviting in the light from above, the current of higher consciousness to gently stream into the crown, imagining yourself still as the tree. What does your branch structure look like? What does the crown of your tree look like? What does it show you? How does it present itself to you? And then stepping back as your inner observer to take in both at the same time, looking at your root, looking at your crown. What do you notice? No judgment, no need to fix, just observing. Does one show itself as more developed than the other? Is there a part that seems dead or dying or choked off or needs more energy? Is there an imbalance? How do the two reflect each other? Does one get more attention than the other? And then coming to the space in the heart that we went to as we were setting the field in the chakra system, in the seven chakra system. The heart is the center. It is three above and three below. And so it is a beautiful place of alchemy and integration of the above and below mysteries. And so as you sense the two currents, right, the grounding current and the crown current meeting in the heart, just breathe with those two energies, noticing any sensations or insights that arise. Be in a space of allowing, not so much directing with your intention what you want to happen, but creating an opening to see what happens when you put your attention on it. And just continue to breathe and be with your own personal tree metaphor, this structure of your roots and of your crown, and how they work together, how they reflect one another, how they are similar or different, how they integrate, how they are connected, or maybe disconnected. And as you feel the energies of the above and below combining and alchemizing in your heart, ask yourself, what is asking to rise within me at this moment? And I will be silent for a few moments while you're in that space. And just allow your inner observer or your inner scribe to take note of what you're experiencing, what message is coming to you, what's being revealed. Mm. And thank your tree self for revealing what it has to you this evening. And take just a couple more deep breaths, just being with what is, being with your tree self. Mm. Being with what your spirit, your soul, your higher self is revealing to you. And from that experience, I invite you to bring one word or an image or a feeling from that experience back into 3D with you as you take a final deep breath and gently open your eyes, coming back into ordinary reality. And if you need to take a moment to make a note, write in your journal, please do. But I would love to hear from a few of you if you would like to share, that sensation, that word, that phrase, whatever it is that you're taking away from this experience. And, just feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand. You're also welcome to share in the chat what that revealed to you. I'd love to hear what your experiences are. Is there anyone that would like to share verbally? Just let me know. And Barbara says upliftment. Beautiful. What other experiences came from this? Feeling the flow, feeling space. Mm. Mm. Mhm. Danielle says that she experienced the power that you truly are. It's beautiful to really touch into that authentic sense of power. Might and strength. Beautiful. Confidence. Nice. All right. Well, thank you for sharing those. And so this tree medicine, if you will, weaves throughout the entire program. And so I want to shift now into talking about the structure of Rise Within. Owen Mary says, feeling my connection to the future and all that is coming. Oh, that's lovely. Yes, tuning into the future self. It's a powerful tool to be able to do that. So Rise Within, so maybe you've read this already and you've been to the page on my website, but there's some things that I want to make sure that I cover in case there are people on the call who haven't, gone and taken the time to look. So this is a 14-week journey. And it's going to continue this, this experiential piece, this sense of being a mystery school or an initiation throughout the whole program. And I want to share that the inspiration came from my Oracle deck. So if you're not aware, this is one of the creations of mine, empath activation cards. And it's a 44 card oracle deck. And I painted all of these images as well. And when I was creating the guidebook to go with it, my publisher asked for me to create some layouts at the beginning, because at the beginning of the book that goes with an oracle deck, there's always, this is how to use an oracle deck, and here are some examples of ways to lay things out. And so as I was writing that, I got downloaded with this unbelievable, it was just so potent and powerful. I didn't even know the full strength of it. But it's called an ascension initiation sequence. And so I'm going to hold up the book. So you can see it's a 10 card layout that starts and it's stacked like a pyramid, and the progression of the cards snakes back and forth, kind of like Kundalini energy, right? As the flow of life force energy moves up the spine. And as I was writing the 10 cards, any kind of layout, there has to be meanings. And so, like, for an example, a very common layout is past, present, future. You draw 3 cards, one represents the past, one represents the present, one represents the future. And so, as I was, figuring out, okay, I've got this 10 card spread, but what are each of the positions? What do they mean? These 10 levels came to me, I just sort of out of nowhere, and I'm like, wow, this is an otherworldly kind of experience. And so I'm going to drop these into the chat, just so that you can see them while I'm talking about them, because I want to read each one, because each one has its own frequency, and this is the level that these are the levels we're going to progress through in this order. And so in the 14 weeks, we're going to have 11 calls or classes. So it'll be one for each of these 10 levels, and then we'll have an 11th one at the end, which will be a celebration, reflection, and completion. So the first one, the first level, the first position is commencement. Level 2 is discernment. Level 3 is alignment. 4 is refinement. 5, embodiment. 6, empowerment. 7, anointment. 8, ennoblement. 9, ordainment. And 10, enlightenment. And as I was developing this program, and by the way, this was 5 years ago. I have been trying to build and launch this mystery school for 5 years. And so finally the energies, the downloads, everything was in alignment for it to come into form. And when that happens, especially for me, I know other people have a similar experience that are content creators, it just dropped into place. I mean, within a period of days, I had pretty much everything written out, which was just an amazing experience to feel all of that moving through. It's very powerful. And so during each week or each level, there are, various things that we're going to focus on, but there are similar aspects to each week where we have a theme, a purpose, an essence statement, and a root and crown practice. So that's going to be similar each week. We're going to have these things. So here's an example. Like, all of this is on the website. So you can go in and look at this for each one of the levels, but I wanted to give you an example from the first level. So, which is commencement, which is the birth of intention. And this marks the conscious beginning of the ascent, choosing to live as a participant in one's own evolution. And at this level, we awaken sacred readiness and claim our spiritual authority. The theme is answering the call. And the essence statement is, I say a sacred yes to my becoming, and the path begins beneath my feet. And the root practice is grounding into presence, and the crown practice is opening the gate. And so that's just an example of what we'll be doing the first level, but we will have those elements in each one of the levels. But in addition, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to share experiences. If we have enough participants, we'll do some breakout groups where people can do some sharing in smaller groups. There will be time to ask questions, to experience the activations, right? The initiatory kind of process or ceremony. There'll be time to spend time with the individual card that you drew from empath activation cards. There'll be time for journaling and reflection. And so um, there's an important note that I want to make sure that you know that each of you will need to purchase or somehow acquire a copy of this Oracle deck. I would love to have included it in your tuition, but for non-US participants, sadly, the shipping costs have made shipping outside of the US cost prohibitive. So you'll need to acquire it in some way. I have no attachment to how you do that or where you get it from. If you are interested in purchasing it from me, you'll get a signed copy with a personalized inscription, but again, get it from wherever you desire to acquire it. But what will happen, one of the things that's so unique that I love about this mystery school is while we are going through these 10 levels together, right? This is a similar experience. We're all at the same level at the same time. You are each going to draw from your deck 10 different cards, one for each level. So while we're going through this collective experience of being at whatever level together, you're going to have your own personal card that energy is working with you, that message, that image is working with you at that level. So it's a kind of a slightly different interpretation. So there'll be guided questions. There'll be some home play for you to continue deepening with the level, with the initiatory step, with the card that you drew for that level. And so there's questions that'll help you look at, okay, if I drew this card for level one, what does that mean? How does one express through the other? How do I personalize this for my own life, my own particular point in my evolution? And so there's this both this personal and collective journey that will be happening at the same time. The general structure of this, we will meet weekly on Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Daylight Time, so that's Chicago time. Each call will be 90 minutes in length, except for the first call, which will be 2 hours, just because there's a little bit more just, logistics and things to cover in the beginning. Um, let's see, the three breaks. So I mentioned that it's 14 weeks, but we're doing 11 calls in that 14 weeks. So there's three breaks. One of them's for Thanksgiving in the US, one of them's for Christmas in the US, and then the other one falls later in January. But it also gives some time for integration, a little bit more time to take everything in and really spend time with the deepening practices and not feel too rushed as you're moving through this, because this is a very accelerated program and accelerated experience because it is such a high frequency. Like there's a lot of activational energies. Calls will be conducted over Zoom, and all of the course materials will be housed in Rizuku. You don't have to know what that is. It's just a platform for online courses. And so once you register, I'll give you access information and what you need to do to get into the course materials. All the calls will be recorded, so you don't have to worry about, if you're going to miss something. I've already got a registrant, and we talked about this because she just wanted to make sure it was okay, that she's not going to be able to make the calls live, but she still felt very drawn to participate in the program. And that's perfectly fine. If you are unable to participate live, I leave it up to you to make the determination of, is it still worth my time, and the practical questions of, am I going to watch the recordings? Am I going to kind of keep up and, do this if I'm going to invest the money and the time and the energy into it? But if you feel like this is something that you are being called to and that you will progress through the program with your own motivation, if you're not able to be live, I fully support you in doing that. So don't feel like you have to be there live. All of the exact dates of the classes and the dates of the breaks are on the website. So let me go ahead and type that into the chat just in case you need it. So it's handy for you. Okay. There are also some bonuses that I've chosen to include as part of your tuition. So I have a what I call a deep dive chakra clearing and embodiment meditation. It's 38 minutes long. It is it's kind of a two-part meditation where it goes up the liberating channel and then it goes back down the manifesting channel. So you're kind of getting a deep cleanse because you're hitting chakras both on the way up and on the way down. A digital copy of one piece of incantation art from my Oracle deck. And so if you're wondering what that means, as I was writing the messages for each of the cards, about half of the messages, like this is one of the things that came through me that I had no idea was going to be part of the deck. These incantations, like in the form of poems, came through. And so I already knew that I wanted to make all of the artwork available on my website so people can go in, and if there's any artwork that calls to them, they can go in and purchase from my website. But I also took those incantations and printed them out on a lovely piece of art for sale. But I also, that's part of the bonus, is that I'm going to give one to each of you and it's going to be individually selected. So maybe about halfway through or towards the end of the program, because I want to feel into your energies and interact with you for a little while so that I can feel into which one spirit would guide me to gift you. Another bonus will be a chance to receive a 60-minute shamanic oracle reading, which is going to happen lottery style, so one person will be a winner. A discount on coaching packages and readings that I offer, and then your choice of two of your favorite pieces of art from Empath Activation Cards. It'll be in JPEG form, right? So I will send you the file so you can print it out, you can hang it, frame it, whatever you want to do with it. Um, so I see that there's a couple of questions coming in. Let me take a look at those. So is there a discount or promotion code for the Empath Activation Cards if we sign up? Um, I Right now there isn't. Let me consider, like, if you know that you want to sign up for the class, let me say that differently. If you want to register for the program, not signing up for a class, it's a little more than just a class, and you want to purchase the cards from me, email me, and then I can guide you from there to get you a discount. I think that would be a fair thing to do. So, and again, it's going to have to do that. It'll have to be a US mailing address. Mary is asking what preparation can and should we do for the program? That is a fantastic question. There's a lot I could say there, so let me try to make it a little condensed. The biggest thing is make sure you get a copy of the Oracle deck. But one of the things that as soon as somebody registers, I will send you a thank you email with further instructions. And one of the things that I always speak to is this sort of concept of pre-processing, right? We are multidimensional beings. We exist on more than one plane. And so when we commit to something in the 3D timeline, we might already start experiencing aspects of the program that we have said yes to. We might already start activating dreams or memories or things come bubbling up or emotions. And we call that pre-processing because in non-ordinary reality, right, when you're outside of the 3D timeline, everything's happening all at the same time. And so what I would say too as part of preparation, Mary, is just be prepared for that. Just notice if that happens, to make space for it, to know there's nothing wrong, to try to give yourself some spaciousness and a little bit of time leading up to the program so that you can really be with the energies that are going to be coming in because they're going to be very potent. As far as other preparation, I will let you know in the email that I send to you. And if you have any specific questions, Mary, feel free to email me and I can address your questions one by one. We're getting close to the end of 45 minutes, so there's a couple other things I want to share, and then I want to kind of formally close the container and just have a short invocation. But then I am happy to stay on the call for, another 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it takes, if there's questions that keep coming in. So I wanted to speak to the tuition. Early bird tuition is available through October 31st, so that's through this Friday. Regular tuition for this program, if you were to do full pay, is $777. That is what it will go to on November 1st. Right now, the early bird full pay option is $697. There's also a 4-month payment plan that is available. So again, if you go to the website that I put in chat and you go down to where you register, you've got the full pay option, you've got the payment plan option. So these two early bird prices will be good through the end of Friday. It depends on your time zone, right? So I can't really say specifically what time it'll be for you. But on I started to say Monday, on Saturday, November 1st is when the tuition goes up to the regular price. So again, let me just pop the website into the chat so that you can go there. All of these things that I've been sharing with you are all on the website, the structure, all of the sort of breakdowns of each of the levels, and then some of the other things that I didn't get a chance to talk about here about the importance of initiation and why it's so meaningful to our psyches and why it calls to us, and then just some other information. And so let me go ahead and bring things to a close here formally, but I will stay on with any of you that have whatever questions that you have. So I know this is something that we could spend a lot of time talking about, and so it's always challenging in a preview like this to figure out where to stop. And so I acknowledge that some of you are still sitting with questions that you have, which is perfectly fine, and I'm happy to address those. But I'd like to just take a moment to come back to the breath. Close your eyes. Feel into the energies that have come through during our time. Feel yourself weaving into the great tapestry, the pulse of the earth, the song of the stars, the rhythm of your own unfolding. Thank you to each of you, those who are here live and those who will be listening on the replay. Thank you for bringing your presence and your light, your curiosity to this shared field. I hope that this energy ripples gently through your days, illuminating what is ready to rise and softening what is ready to release. May your roots hold you steady and your crown keep you open as your heart becomes the bridge between worlds. And so it is. And so, for those of you who need to leave, feel free. If you have questions, you can always email me. And for those who have time to stay on, I'm happy to address questions. You can just unmute yourself, or you can raise your virtual hand, or you can type in the chat. And I'm just going to get a quick drink here. All right. What questions do you have?
So I'll ask.
Yeah, hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary. Hi. I just bought the cards, almost hitting the button at Amazon when you said that you include a message from yourself. I attended a summit months ago that you put together, and it was really wonderful. I've just been drawn to your energy. And so I was so excited about this program when I got the email. I knew I was going to sign up. So thank you. I'm really looking forward to it.
I am too, Mary. Thank you.
And I'm just curious, if there were some, I want to come prepared and get the most out of it. If there's any of your books, I know you have books that
Mm,
you would recommend that we, kind of review or anything like that, that
yeah,
you would suggest.
absolutely. I appreciate your enthusiasm. At this time, and I will sit with this question. So, as the next few days unfold, I may have some things that I want to add. But as of this moment, there's nothing in particular that I would ask you to read or do, because this really is, we're so trained in our Western brains for this to be an intellectual
Right.
academic
Yeah.
activity. And so that's one of the things that I really speak to on the website is that is not what this is. Those things have a purpose. They have a point, that we go through these cycles where, and I've done it too, right? You want to consume, I'm reading books and I'm watching videos
Mhm.
kind of stuff and I'm filling up and then there's a point where it's almost like when you eat too much where you're like, okay, I have to go digest because my food is right here. And so it's kind of the same with the knowledge, right? It's like, okay, now we need to integrate, we need to figure out
Yeah.
where
Yes.
this stuff lands and how does it want to express itself in my life? How do I make it embodied and not just conceptual? And so this is not an academic activity. It is not, I mean, there will be teachings, but saying yes to this program is really saying yes to your own calling
Yes.
in in a group, right? So that individual journey and collective journey that I talked about that's going to be happening together. So I hope that's at least a somewhat satisfying answer.
Oh, it is. It
Okay.
totally helps. I can distract myself for days, with, the learning versus the the true integration. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Absolutely.
I
Okay.
signed up, by the way. So
Thank you.
thank you.
You. Okay, so I see a couple things in chat. So Danielle says, if I can only attend a few live calls, will that disrupt the group dynamics, only joining a few times? I really appreciate that question. I have facilitated a lot of in-person circles. And so the energy of a group in person, there's similarities and differences if it's on in an online virtual format versus in person. And the container exists. Like when each of you registers on my altar, if you saw the email I sent out where I had a picture of my altar, you will all be placed on my altar. We will all be in this field together. The energies will be working us and will be working you, whether you are showing up to the call or not, whether you're able to be live or not. You are still in the process, you are still held in the field, you are still in the energies. And so there's a little bit more tolerance, if you will, and people are used to now in an online format that it's not necessarily going to be the same exact people every time. And so from a facilitation standpoint, as being the one creating the circle, but I really believe we are all holding it together. I don't feel that, intermittent attendance is going to detract from the field. Okay, Joyce is asking, is there an energy initiation or activation in each level? Yes, ma'am. There absolutely is. And so that is part of why this is an initiatory process because each one of these levels is highly activational, calling us forward into whatever that next piece is for us. And so that's what I love about these 10 levels, right? So we may be in the embodiment level. So we're all traveling at that frequency, if you will, together. But yet each one of you is going to have a different card that's personalizing your journey as well. So there's absolutely going to be these initiations and activations And so one of the things I didn't speak to um, in the preview, but it's on the website, is are we a good fit, right? Here are the things that I would highly encourage that you have in your tool bag to be able to participate. And so for people who this is very new and they're not adept yet at recognizing when they're triggered or overwhelmed, or they don't have very good personal energy management skills or don't really know how to interact in a group, this may not be a good fit because what I'm I don't think expecting is too strong of a word because I'm stating very explicitly in the materials that this is an accelerated program. There's going to be an intensity to that just because it's accelerated, but we're not trying to force it. It's not like we're trying to, hold everybody to the hot poker, to make it even more intense. Um, so yeah, there's a lot more I could say, but I just want to make sure that people who are participating have some measure of self-awareness and toolbox and skills in working with energy, especially since we're in a virtual space, which makes it would be different if it was in person. So I hope that answers your question to some degree. Um, what else? Okay. And once again, if you sleep on it and you wake up in the morning and have more questions, please feel free to email me. I'm happy if there's conversation that needs to happen to help you get some clarity around this. But I just invite you to take this into dream time, into meditation. You may already have your answer, or you may need a little time to sit with it. I know for me, anything that has ever landed on my doorstep is an initiatory process, and I've been through many. It is not my brain that makes the decision. It is my body that goes, ugh, like it's just pulling me forward, like I have to do this. I'll give you an example. When I did the priestess process, this was way early in my spiritual awakening, and I'm driving to the free preview because it was local. And as I'm driving down the road, I see this red-tailed hawk that, is in a tree, comes off of the tree, skims across the hood of the truck, lands in a utility pole over here, and I'm still learning, what all of these things mean. And I'm like, I think that was significant. And so I went to the free preview. It was 2 hours long, and I cried the entire time. And I had no idea what my facilitator was saying. And she was saying terms, and I didn't know what any of them meant, and I knew I was supposed to be there. So, oftentimes these sorts of things, there's still a logical process, right? You have to look at your schedule, you have to look at your finances, you have to look at, your obligations. But in terms of if this is the right choice for you, it is often something other than the brain that's making the decision. Okay, so Joyce, yes, I apologize about that. When I sent out my first email, I put my personal Zoom room ID link, and then after I did that, I was like, that is not what I meant to do. I meant to create an event and include that link. So all of the other emails that I sent after that had that link. So I apologize if that was confusing. I think I saw that you were in both rooms at the same time, when you were getting on before the call. So sorry about that confusion. Any other questions? All right. Wonderful, Danielle. Thank you. Just let me know if there's any other questions I can answer. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time and for your energy and your interest. I send you many blessings. Have a good evening.